Hey there, this is Mrs. Dietz. Now that you've read the poem Where I'm From, I thought it'd be nice if we could kind of discuss it a little bit. And so I thought I'd just make this really quick video just because we aren't going to be having a Class Connect here until after spring break. I thought it'd be fun to take a close look at this poem and analyze it, and then even write our own versions now that we've wrapped up our unit on poetry. The poem Where I'm From is a great poem because it really focuses on your history as a person and your memories and how important those memories are and how memories really help form the person that you become and the person that you are. And so I want you to kind of think about that. I want you to think about memories and how our memories help form who we are and how our ancestors and our relatives help contribute to who we are as people as we take a close look at this poem. So I'm going to read it out loud to you. Where I'm from. I'm from clothespins. I'm from Clorox and carbon to tetrachloride. I'm from the dirt under the back porch, black, glistening. It tasted like beets. I'm from the forsythia bush, the Dutch elm, whose long-gone limbs I remember as if they were my own. I'm from fudge and eyeglasses, from Imogene and Alifair. I'm from the know-it-alls and the pass-it-ons, from perk up and pipe down. I'm from He restoreth my soul with a cotton ball lamb, and 10 verses I can say myself. I'm from Artemis and Billy's branch, fried corn and strong coffee, from the finger my grandfather lost to the auger, the eye my father shut to keep his sight. Under my bed was a dress box spilling old pictures, a sift of lost faces to drift beneath my dreams. I'm from those moments, snapped before I budded, leaf fall from the family tree. Now this poem is full of figurative language, and it's full of memories that the narrator had growing up, and all of these memories have helped kind of contribute to who they are. Now I know that this poem can be kind of confusing when you read it the first time. Whenever I read poetry, I like to read the poem a couple of times and kind of think about, my feelings about the poem and my reaction, and then try to break it down to figure out what the author is really meaning. And that's kind of what I'm going to do right now. We're going to go through this poem right now, and we're just going to analyze each section to figure out what they really mean and why they're mentioning these different things in this poem. Now, like I said at the beginning, this is a poem about memory and the power of memory and the way that your memories and your history kind of helps form who you are today. So let's go back and take a look at these different stanzas in the poem. Here it starts off by saying, I'm from clothespins, from Clorox and carbon to tetrachloride. Now I think that the author mentioned this because growing up she maybe remembered her parents maybe hanging clothes to dry outside. So maybe that's why she's mentioning these clothespins. She also mentions chloride and carbon to tetrachloride. So I'm thinking that maybe her parents made her do chores when she was younger, or maybe she remembers her mom doing chores on, Saturday morning. I know that I make my stepson do chores, and so as he grows up, he's probably going to remember these things as well. Clorox is just a cleaning agent, so maybe he remembers or she remembers using Clorox to do chores when she was younger. It also has this really strong smell, so it's easy to remember and hard to forget. She then goes on to say, I'm from the dirt under the back porch, black, glistening. It tasted like beets. Now, most people don't eat dirt. However, kids sometimes do. And oftentimes, you'll get dirt in your mouth on accident just because maybe it's floating in the air, there's dust in the air. Maybe it's the middle of summer and you inhale and you get kind of a mouthful of dirt. So when I read that section, I imagine this narrator as a little child, maybe crawling underneath her back porch to play. And maybe that's why she is, remembering the black glistening dirt and the way that it tasted. I think that was an area that she went to and she played in when she was younger. Then she goes on to say, I'm from the forsythia bush, the Dutch elm, whose long-gone limbs I remember as if they were my own. Now here she's listed this plant and this huge tree. And she says that she remembers the Dutch elm's long-gone limbs. So I'm thinking that that tree is no longer standing. So the tree is no longer with us. But I think she remembers the Dutch elm because maybe that was an area she went to think as she was growing up. Maybe as a teenager she went to the Dutch elm and she sat underneath it and she thought about her life and she contemplated things. Maybe that was just her place of peace that she went to. So it holds a special place in her heart. Then as we go through the poem, the next stanza says, I'm from Fudge and Eyeglasses, from Imogen and Alifair. I'm assuming here that these are people that are in her family. So maybe Imogen and Alifair are relatives of hers. And maybe somebody in her house, maybe her grandmother, maybe her mom or her aunt made fudge. And someone most likely wore eyeglasses, and maybe she has a memory of those eyeglasses, sitting on the table by the chair, or she remembers them on that person's face. Then she says, I'm from the know-it-alls and the pass-it-ons. So maybe she's from a huge family and they pass along clothes or they pass along secrets even. When she says I'm from the know-it-alls, it makes me think that maybe she has cousins or other people in her family, maybe older siblings who know everything. And that's why she says she's from the know-it-alls. Then she goes on to say, from perk up and pipe down. Now I think that these are things that she heard in her family. So like I said, maybe she comes from a large family and she's told to pipe down anytime they're getting too loud. And maybe she's told to perk up anytime she's feeling down or she's not feeling happy. Maybe that's, something her dad says to her on a regular basis. So it's something she remembers. Then she goes on to say, I am from He restoreth my soul with a cotton ball lamb, and 10 verses I can say myself. Now when I read this section of the poem, I immediately think church. Here we have the word he and it's capitalized, so I'm thinking that she's referring to God. She talks about making a cotton ball lamb and 10 verses, and so immediately I think of the Bible. So when I read this section, I can tell that she went to church when she was younger and she went to Sunday school, and that both of those things are important to her. So maybe her faith is important to her. The next stanza says, I'm from Artemis and Billy's branch. Now I don't think she's talking about a real tree here. I think she's talking about her family tree. So Artemis and Billy here must be people in her family tree. She also goes on to say fried corn and strong coffee. So maybe she remembers the smell of fried corn and strong coffee from her childhood. Then she says, from the finger my grandfather lost to the auger, the eye my father shut to keep his sight. And I think she mentions these memories here because they're probably stories that were told in her family. So important stories that have helped shape who she is and important stories that she's heard over and over again growing up. Then the last stanza says, under my bed was a dress box, spilling old pictures, a sift of lost faces, to drift beneath my dreams. I'm from those moments, snapped before I budded, leaf fall from the family tree. So when I read this, I can tell that she's a memory keeper. It seems like she keeps memories and pictures in a box underneath her bed. This last part here, she says, I'm from those moments, snapped before I budded. So this is figurative language. She's almost making a metaphor here, where she's kind of like a flower that hasn't bloomed yet. And these memories, all of these memories that she's talked about in this poem have helped shape who she is before she's grown up. Before she has bloomed as a flower. So I'm kind of going back to that metaphor here. And so she's saying all of these memories, all of these stories, and all of these people have contributed to who she is today. So that's my interpretation of the poem. So as you can tell now that we've read it and we've talked about it, this poem really is about memory and how our memories are important and they help shape who we are. I want you to keep this in mind as you complete this study guide later today, and then as you write your own version of this poem later on in this unit.